Gentlemen, let me be absolutely clear from the start. What I'm about to share may shock you, because the truth is, there are certain nuts that many seniors eat every single day, believing they're doing something good for their health, when in reality, those same nuts are quietly destroying their erections, draining their energy, and accelerating the aging process in their bodies. That may sound extreme, but I assure you it is a reality I have seen countless times in my patients over the years. My name is Dr. James. I'm a urologist and men's health expert with more than 3 decades of experience helping men just like you protect their prostate, restore their vitality, and enjoy a confident, fulfilling life even after the age of 60. When I speak to you today, it comes not from theory, but from years of working side by side with men who struggle silently, hoping for answers. Now here's the paradox that most people never think about. We are told again and again that nuts are healthy, packed with protein and good fats. And in many cases, that's true. But the surprising truth is that not all nuts are created equal. Some will nourish your body and strengthen your blood flow, while others will do the exact opposite, blocking circulation, lowering testosterone, and stealing the very strength that makes you feel like a man. That's why this message is so important. Today I'll reveal the 4 nuts you should never eat if you want to protect your erections, your heart, and your energy. And then I'll give you the good news. 4 powerful nuts you should eat instead. Simple, natural choices that can fuel your body and bring back the vitality you thought was gone. So stay with me, because the last nut I'll share with you is one that almost no one talks about, and yet it may be the most powerful of them all. Before we dive into the nuts that can harm or help your erections, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another men's health tip designed especially for seniors. And if you find this video valuable, type 1 in the comments. If you feel it could be improved, type 0 and let me know how I can make these lessons even more helpful for you. Now let's get straight into the first nut you should never eat. Many men reach for it as a cheap, everyday snack thinking it's harmless. But the truth is, this so-called nut can quietly inflame your blood vessels and weaken your erections over time. I'm talking about peanuts. 1. The first nut you should never eat: peanuts. When I think back to my earliest days in medical training, I remember seeing men who came into my office exhausted, frustrated, and quietly ashamed of what was happening to them. Many of them struggled with erections that were no longer strong, no longer reliable. At first, they often believed it was just age catching up to them, something they had no control over. But as I looked deeper into their diets and daily habits, I found one common thread again and again, something so simple it was almost invisible. It was the peanut. Now, peanuts are not truly nuts. They're legumes, more closely related to beans than to almonds or walnuts. And yet, because they're cheap, convenient, and everywhere, they've become the go-to snack for millions of men in America. You find them at ball games, in candy bars, roasted in cans at the grocery store, and in peanut butter sandwiches that many men have eaten since childhood. They feel like an American staple, something that belongs in every kitchen. But for men over 60, peanuts can quietly turn into a hidden enemy. Here's why. Peanuts are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. While a small amount of omega-6 is necessary, too much creates inflammation inside your arteries. Think of your blood vessels like flexible garden hoses. When they're healthy, blood flows freely, pressure is steady, and your body delivers oxygen and nutrients exactly where they're needed. But when inflammation takes hold, those vessels stiffen and narrow. Imagine trying to force water through a brittle, clogged hose. That's what happens inside your body, and especially inside the delicate arteries of the penis. Erections are a blood flow event. No flow, no function. On top of that, peanuts are often roasted in cheap oils, making the inflammation worse. And then comes the salt. Many men over 60 already fight high blood pressure, sometimes without even realizing it. Every extra handful of salted peanuts is like turning the dial a little higher, putting more strain on the arteries and making it harder for blood to reach the very place you need it most. You may notice your erections aren't as firm or that they don't last as long. You may notice your energy fading faster during the day. These are not random accidents. They are signals your body is sending, and peanuts are often part of the problem. There's also another hidden danger that most men never hear about. Peanuts are one of the most common foods contaminated with aflatoxins, toxic molds produced by certain fungi. Aflatoxins are linked to liver damage and even cancer. Now, that doesn't mean every peanut will poison you, but it does mean that peanuts carry risks that add up over time, especially in older men whose bodies process toxins more slowly. And let's be honest, when you're over 60, the margin for error is smaller. Every choice matters more. I've seen men come into my office proud of their so-called healthy snacking, eating peanuts by the handful because they were told nuts are good for the heart. And then they sit across from me, frustrated, wondering why their blood pressure is up, their waistline is expanding, and their erections are weaker. I look them in the eye and say, it's not just what you eat, it's what kind of nut you eat. For many men, that realization alone is a turning point. So, if peanuts are not the friendly snack they seem to be, what about the other nuts in your pantry? Some carry risks just as serious, and one in particular might be harming your urinary system in ways you never expected. Let's move to the second nut you should avoid, and this one surprises nearly everyone who hears it. 2. The second nut you should never eat: cashews. I still remember one of my patients, a man in his late 60s, who came to me with constant fatigue, stubborn belly weight, and frequent trips to the bathroom at night. He was convinced something was seriously wrong with his prostate. We ran tests, and while his prostate was enlarged, the more surprising culprit came from his daily diet. He admitted almost sheepishly that every evening he would sit down with a bowl of cashews, believing they were a smart and heart-healthy snack. What he didn't realize was that this healthy habit was quietly undermining his energy, his waistline, and yes, even his erections. Cashews have a reputation for being elegant and indulgent. They're creamy, slightly sweet, and easy to enjoy by the handful. But beneath that smooth taste lies a problem many men over 60 cannot afford to ignore. Cashews are unusually high in oxalates. Oxalates are natural compounds that in excess can combine with calcium in the body to form kidney stones. And if you've ever known a man who has suffered through kidney stones, you know the pain can be excruciating. For seniors already facing age-related changes in the urinary system, adding more oxalates into the mix is like pouring salt on a wound. It makes the bladder and kidneys work harder than they should, and it raises the risk of complications that can haunt you for years. But that's only the beginning. Cashews also contain more carbohydrates than most other nuts. That means your blood sugar rises faster when you eat them. And here's why that matters. Frequent blood sugar spikes set off a cascade inside the body. Insulin levels surge, cells start resisting insulin's signal, and before long you're dealing with insulin resistance, a condition that not only paves the way to diabetes, but also chips away at testosterone. And when testosterone dips, your sexual function suffers. Erections weaken, recovery after intimacy slows down, and your overall drive for life starts to dim. Another thing I've noticed in men who rely heavily on cashews is stubborn belly fat. Even if they think they're eating a small portion, cashews are calorie-dense, and combined with their carbohydrate load, they fuel the very kind of fat storage that steals testosterone. It's a cruel cycle. The more weight you carry around your midsection, the lower your testosterone tends to be. And the lower your testosterone, the harder it becomes to shed that same belly fat. Many men end up stuck in this downward spiral without realizing that something as ordinary as cashews is pushing them further down. I share this not to scare you away from every nut, but to remind you that not all healthy snacks are created equal. Cashews may look harmless in a small bag or fancy dish at a party, but for men over 60, they can be silent troublemakers. They add pressure to the urinary tract, raise blood sugar, fuel belly fat, and over time, they rob you of the energy and confidence you deserve. I've seen it firsthand in the men I treat, and once they cut back on cashews, the difference can be remarkable. Now, if cashews can cause this much hidden damage, you might be wondering what other so-called premium nuts should you watch out for. The next one has a buttery taste, often considered a gourmet delight, but its heavy load of fats can quietly clog your arteries and choke off blood flow right where you need it most. Let's talk about macadamias. 3. The third nut you should never eat: macadamias. I can still recall a conversation I had with a gentleman in his early 70s. He told me he had developed a small ritual every night after dinner: a glass of wine, a handful of macadamia nuts, and a sense of pride that he was treating himself to something healthy. He believed he was doing the right thing, that this rich little nut was a gift to his heart and body. Yet over time, he started to notice changes: shortness of breath during his walks, heavier legs, and a growing frustration with erections that seemed weaker and slower to respond. When I looked at his blood work, the pattern was clear. His cholesterol had crept up, his arteries were showing early signs of stiffness, and his so-called healthy habit was quietly taking a toll. Macadamias are famous for their buttery texture and indulgent taste. People often think of them as gourmet, a luxury to savor. But hidden behind that pleasant flavor is a problem that matters deeply for men over 60. Macadamias are extremely high in saturated fats. Now, our bodies do need some saturated fat, but too much is a recipe for clogged arteries. And once arteries start to clog, the first places to suffer are often the smallest blood vessels. That includes the delicate vessels in the penis. Erections depend on a rush of blood filling those vessels quickly and efficiently. When circulation slows down because the pipes are narrowed, even desire cannot overcome the physical barrier. The result is predictable: softer erections, less stamina, and a growing sense that something has slipped away. Another concern is calorie density. Just a small handful of macadamias carries a surprising load of calories. Seniors who snack on them daily without realizing it may slowly gain weight, particularly around the middle. Belly fat is not just cosmetic. It is metabolically active tissue that lowers testosterone and worsens insulin resistance. It adds strain to the heart and increases inflammation throughout the body. For men in their 60s and 70s, every extra pound makes it harder to preserve energy, confidence, and intimacy. When I sit with men and explain this, I can often see the disappointment in their eyes. It feels unfair that something so delicious, something sold as natural and wholesome, could work against them. But I remind them that health is often about balance and awareness. Occasional macadamias won't ruin you, but building a daily habit around them can be silently destructive, especially if you already battle cholesterol, high blood pressure, or reduced circulation. It's not about depriving yourself, it's about recognizing which foods serve your vitality and which ones steal it. What I've witnessed in my own patients is that once they cut back on macadamias and switch to nuts that actually protect circulation, they begin to feel lighter, stronger, and more capable. Their blood tests improve, their waistlines shrink, and many even report firmer erections. It's a powerful reminder that what you snack on late at night can either set you back or move you closer to the man you want to be. And if macadamias surprised you, wait until you hear about the next nut. On the surface, it looks like a powerhouse for male fertility, loaded with an important mineral. But when eaten too often, it becomes toxic, literally poisoning the body and stealing the very vitality you're trying to protect. Let's talk about Brazil nuts. 4. The fourth nut you should never eat: Brazil nuts in excess. One of the most memorable patients I ever treated was a man in his mid-60s who came into my office complaining of constant fatigue, brittle nails, and a strange metallic taste in his mouth. At first glance, you might think those symptoms were random, but when I reviewed his diet, I discovered something interesting. Every single morning, without fail, he ate a handful of Brazil nuts because he had read somewhere that they were great for men. He thought he was fueling his fertility, protecting his testosterone, and giving his body an extra edge. What he didn't realize was that his so-called healthy routine had quietly tipped into dangerous territory, creating the very symptoms that brought him to see me. Brazil nuts have earned a reputation as a superfood for men, and in small amounts they can be exactly that. They're rich in selenium, a trace mineral that plays a key role in sperm production, thyroid function, and antioxidant protection. A little selenium is essential. But here's the catch: Brazil nuts contain more selenium per ounce than almost any other food on Earth. That means you don't need many to meet your daily requirement. In fact, just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a few times a week is more than enough for most men. Once you go beyond that, you risk overloading your body with selenium, and excess selenium quickly turns toxic. When selenium levels rise too high, the effects are not subtle. You may notice hair falling out, nails becoming weak and ridged, or a constant feeling of exhaustion that no amount of sleep seems to fix. In more serious cases, high selenium levels can trigger digestive upset, nerve problems, and yes, even erectile dysfunction. The very mineral you thought would fuel your virility ends up choking it. And seniors are particularly vulnerable because the body's ability to process and clear excess minerals slows down with age. What younger men might tolerate, older men cannot. I often remind my patients that more is not always better. The idea that if a little bit helps, a lot must help more is one of the most dangerous myths in nutrition. Brazil nuts are the perfect example of this. A couple of nuts once or twice a week? Beneficial. A handful every day? Harmful. It's a fine line, but one that makes all the difference when it comes to your long-term health and vitality. I've seen men light up with relief when I explain this. They're grateful to know that they don't have to cut Brazil nuts out completely, but they do have to respect their power. Nutrition is about balance, about understanding how much your body needs and when too much turns against you. And when it comes to erections, balance is everything. Circulation, hormones, and energy all depend on staying within the sweet spot. So yes, Brazil nuts in moderation can support you, but in excess they can strip away your strength and leave you wondering what went wrong. And that brings us to the other side of the story, the nuts that don't just avoid harm but actively restore and protect your vitality. The first one is often overlooked, yet it can improve blood flow, support testosterone, and give you steady energy day after day. Let's start with almonds. 5. The first nut you must eat, almonds. I can't tell you how many times I've sat across from a man in his 60s or 70s who felt defeated. He'd sigh, lower his voice, and confess that his energy wasn't what it used to be, that his confidence in the bedroom had slipped, and that he just didn't feel like the man he once was. I always listen carefully because those words carry weight. And then I ask about the details of his diet. Often the answers reveal something powerful, small changes that can make a big difference. One of the simplest yet most effective changes I've seen is the introduction of almonds into a man's daily routine. Almonds may look plain compared to more exotic nuts, but do not underestimate them. They are nutritional powerhouses packed with vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy monounsaturated fats. Vitamin E is a potent antioxidant, protecting the lining of your blood vessels from damage and keeping them flexible. Think of your arteries as the highways of your body. When they're open and smooth, traffic flows freely. For men, that traffic is blood, and erections depend entirely on that smooth, rapid flow. Almonds help keep those highways clear. Magnesium is another gift from almonds. It relaxes blood vessels, lowers blood pressure, and helps your body regulate blood sugar. For seniors, this is critical because high blood pressure and diabetes are two of the most common enemies of sexual health. Magnesium's calming effect on the cardiovascular system supports not just your heart, but also your ability to achieve strong and lasting erections. And unlike processed snacks or heavy meals that weigh you down, almonds provide clean energy that sustains you throughout the day. I've seen men who start eating a small handful of almonds daily notice differences they didn't expect. Their cholesterol improves, their waistline shrinks, and their energy feels steadier. But the most meaningful change for many is that their confidence begins to return. Erections come easier, their performance feels stronger, and they no longer dread intimacy. It's not magic. It's simply giving the body the nutrients it craves to function the way it's designed. There's also the effect almonds have on testosterone. By improving insulin sensitivity and lowering bad cholesterol, almonds create the right environment for your body to maintain healthy testosterone levels. And as any man knows, testosterone is about far more than sex. It fuels drive, motivation, and vitality in every area of life. When testosterone is supported, you feel it in your bones. You wake up more energized, more focused, more alive. I often share with patients that almonds are not just a snack, but a daily investment. Each handful is like putting money in the bank of your health. Over weeks and months, the dividends are clear: better circulation, stronger erections, and a renewed sense of control. And it doesn't take a complicated plan or a strict diet. It takes consistency with something as simple as almonds. So if you've been wondering where to start, almonds are a safe, reliable, and powerful choice. But they're not the only nut that can transform your health. There's another one, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, that has been proven to boost nitric oxide and open your blood vessels wide, delivering a surge of life and strength right where you need it most. Let's talk about walnuts. 6. The second nut you must eat: walnuts. There's a certain moment I'll never forget with one of my longtime patients, a man in his late 60s who had nearly given up on the idea of feeling truly alive again. He came into my office with the look of someone who carried years of disappointment. He told me he had tried different diets, he had taken medications, and yet his energy was flat, his waistline heavier, and intimacy felt like a shadow of what it used to be. When I asked him about the foods he ate regularly, I noticed something missing. He had never once considered adding walnuts to his diet. That may sound trivial, but it turned out to be the turning point he desperately needed. Walnuts are, without question, one of the most powerful foods for men's health, particularly after 60. They are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, those precious fats that work wonders for circulation and vitality. What makes omega-3 so critical is their ability to increase nitric oxide production in the body. Nitric oxide is the molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and expand, allowing blood to rush through with ease. Without it, circulation slows, arteries stiffen, and erections become weaker. With it, the body feels younger, stronger, and more capable. I've explained this to countless men, and I always describe it this way. Erections are a blood flow event. If your blood vessels are like highways, nitric oxide is the green light that keeps traffic moving smoothly. Walnuts are like the switch that keeps those green lights on, ensuring your blood reaches every corner of your body, including the most vital areas for intimacy. And when that blood flow improves, men often tell me they feel not just more confident in the bedroom, but more energetic in every aspect of their lives. But walnuts don't stop there. They also help improve cholesterol by lowering LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, and raising HDL, the good cholesterol that clears your arteries. For seniors, this is a game changer. Clearer arteries mean stronger hearts, sharper brains, and yes, firmer erections. In fact, research has shown that men who eat walnuts regularly enjoy better sperm quality, improved vascular health, and greater overall performance. That's not theory, it's science. I remember the patient I mentioned earlier. After adding a modest handful of walnuts to his daily diet, he returned months later with a new spark in his eyes. His cholesterol numbers had improved, his weight was down, and he told me with a grin that intimacy with his wife had taken on a new life. It wasn't a drug or a miracle. It was the steady, reliable power of walnuts nourishing his body day after day. What I love most about walnuts is that they're accessible. You don't need a complicated plan or expensive supplements, you just need consistency. A handful of walnuts each day is enough to begin changing the way your body feels and functions. They are a reminder that nature often provides exactly what we need if we're willing to reach for it. So if you want a nut that supports your heart, your brain, and your erections all at once, walnuts are your ally. But don't stop here, because there's another nut with even more compelling evidence behind it. Clinical studies have shown it can directly improve erectile function in just weeks, acting almost like a natural prescription. That nut is pistachios, and it may surprise you just how powerful they really are. 7. The third nut you must eat: pistachios. There was a time when I met a man in his early 70s who had been quietly suffering for years. He told me with a hint of embarrassment that intimacy had become nearly impossible. He felt disconnected from his wife, not because the love was gone, but because his body simply wouldn't cooperate. He had tried pills, he had tried different exercises, but nothing seemed to last. Then one day, while going over his habits, I asked about his diet. He shrugged and said, "I don't snack much, just peanuts once in a while." That's when I told him about a small but mighty nut that many overlook, pistachios. Pistachios may seem like just another snack, something you crack open mindlessly while watching television, but the truth is they are uniquely powerful for men's health. They are rich in arginine, an amino acid that your body uses to create nitric oxide. And as I've said before, nitric oxide is the key to opening blood vessels wide and allowing strong, healthy blood flow. Erections live and die by circulation, and pistachios provide the raw material your body needs to keep that circulation strong. But here's the part that excites me as a physician. This isn't just theory. Clinical studies have proven that pistachios can improve erectile function in men. In one study, men who ate pistachios daily for 3 weeks reported significant improvements in firmness, satisfaction, and overall performance. Imagine that. A simple, natural food producing measurable changes in such a short time. For men over 60 who often believe their best years are behind them, this kind of transformation can feel like a second chance. Pistachios also go to work on your heart. They help lower LDL cholesterol, the kind that clogs arteries, and raise HDL cholesterol, which clears those same arteries. They reduce blood pressure and decrease inflammation, all of which protect the delicate vessels that deliver blood where it counts. This means pistachios don't just help you in the bedroom, they protect you in every moment of your day, from walking up the stairs to playing with your grandchildren. I've had patients come back to me with tears in their eyes, telling me that after adding pistachios to their daily routine, something shifted. One man told me, "Doctor, I didn't just get my erections back, I got my marriage back." That's the kind of impact this little nut can have. And for me, as someone who has spent decades helping men reclaim their vitality, it's moments like these that remind me why I do what I do. So if you've been searching for something simple, something natural that can support your performance without side effects, pistachios deserve a place in your diet. A small handful each day can make a profound difference, not just in how your body functions, but in how you feel about yourself as a man. And while pistachios are remarkable, there's still one more nut I want to share with you. It's often overlooked, hiding in the background while almonds and walnuts take the spotlight. Yet this nut is packed with antioxidants and hormone-supporting nutrients that can quietly transform your energy and circulation. Let's talk about hazelnuts. 8. The fourth nut you must eat, hazelnuts. I once had a gentleman in his mid-60s sit across from me and confess that he felt invisible. He said, "Doctor, I do everything right. I exercise, I try to eat well, but I still feel tired, my energy is low, and intimacy just isn't the same." I could hear the frustration in his voice. He felt like he was giving his best effort but not seeing results. As we talked through his habits, it became clear that while he was eating some healthy foods, he was overlooking one that could quietly make a difference: hazelnuts. Hazelnuts rarely get the same attention as almonds or walnuts. They're often tucked away in the baking aisle or mixed into holiday chocolates, but very few men think of them as a daily source of strength. And yet, hidden inside these small, round nuts is a treasure chest of nutrients perfectly suited for men over 60. Hazelnuts are packed with vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that shields your blood vessels from damage and keeps them elastic. For a man, that elasticity means blood can flow more freely, and as you know by now, free-flowing blood is the foundation of strong, reliable erections. But there's more. Hazelnuts are rich in compounds that fight inflammation, the silent enemy of circulation and hormone balance. Inflammation doesn't just make joints ache, it also stiffens arteries and lowers testosterone. By calming this inflammation, hazelnuts help create an internal environment where your hormones can function the way they're meant to. That means more energy, sharper focus, and greater confidence both in and out of the bedroom. Another benefit of hazelnuts is the steady energy they provide. Unlike cashews, which spike blood sugar, or peanuts, which inflame your system, hazelnuts release energy slowly. They give you fuel without the crash, making them an ideal snack for men who want to maintain steady strength throughout the day. I've had patients tell me that after just a few weeks of adding hazelnuts into their diet, they felt lighter on their feet, more alert, and more capable of enjoying the activities they thought they had left behind. And let's not forget the heart. Hazelnuts help lower LDL cholesterol and raise HDL cholesterol, which means your arteries stay cleaner, your heart beats stronger, and your body feels younger. For men over 60, protecting the heart is not optional. It's the foundation of living long enough to enjoy the vitality you've worked so hard to preserve. Hazelnuts offer that protection in a simple, delicious form you can easily add to your meals or enjoy as a snack. I often tell my patients that hazelnuts are like a quiet ally, one that doesn't demand attention but delivers results if you give it a chance. They don't just improve your physical health, they restore a sense of possibility. And when you start to feel those changes, clearer energy, stronger performance, greater confidence, you begin to believe again that age is not the end of vitality, but the beginning of a new chapter. So yes, hazelnuts may be the unsung hero of men's health, but together with almonds, walnuts, and pistachios, they complete the powerful team that can protect your heart, fuel your testosterone, and bring strength back into your life. And now that you know the 4 nuts to avoid and the 4 nuts to embrace, let's tie it all together. Because the choices you make today may determine not just your health, but the legacy you leave behind. Conclusion. Gentlemen, by now you can see that not all nuts are created equal. Some, like peanuts, cashews, macadamias, and too many Brazil nuts, can quietly chip away at your strength, your circulation, and even your confidence as a man. They seem harmless on the surface, yet for seniors especially, the wrong choices can accelerate aging, drain energy, and weaken erections over time. But the good news is just as powerful. By focusing on almonds, walnuts, pistachios, and hazelnuts, you give your body the nutrients it craves to stay vital. These nuts protect your arteries, balance your hormones, support your prostate, and keep blood flowing freely, exactly what you need to maintain energy, performance, and independence as you age. The difference may sound simple, but I've seen it transform lives. Small, consistent choices add up over weeks and months, giving men renewed strength, sharper minds, and greater joy in their relationships. That is the gift of understanding your body and fueling it the right way. So as you move forward, remember, vitality doesn't fade with age, it fades with poor choices. Protect your health, honor your body, and choose the nuts that keep you strong. Your future self will thank you.